Well, I would like to ask you if you want to ask me any questions or make any comments. Make the satsang your satsang.
Swami Tuti has 2 songs to sing if you are interested.
Yes,
Okay, 2 songs?
I would like to hear them.
Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach my heart to impart everywhere your delight. Sing of moon rays on the rain, sing that lost not in vain. Every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach all men how to spin clouds of blooming to light. Without silence, what is song? Without light, where is dawn? Were it not for men's woes, so would scarlet and rose. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Let each tone silence grow, earth and heaven unite. Morning laughter, evening tears, snow and blossoms all fade. Joy must sing in the night, truth is strange unafraid. Nightingale, nightingale, nightingale.
Beautiful. Can you understand the words? You know when you sing blossoms, in America we say blossoms. In India you should say blossom. Okay, let's hear the next one.
Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together. Life on earth is so wonderful when people laugh and dance and struggle and sweat and all their dreams achieve their ends. Many hands make a miracle. People climbing together. Soon we reach to the pinnacle of every mountain peak. We as it as one, we lift our hands to welcome the sun. Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together. Life on earth is so wonderful when people laugh and dance and struggle and sweat and all their dreams achieve their ends. Many hands make a miracle. People climbing together. Soon we reach to the pinnacle of every mountain peak. We as it as one, we lift our hands to welcome the sun. We lift our hands to welcome the sun.
Well done. May I sing peace? Now I'll sing one for you. but put it down into my range.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can. I don't sing, I don't talk like a human being. I think that I should really lecture the whales. Peace gave us the mountains. Peace gave us the sun. Birds song nightly when starlight enfolds us. Peace is its lullaby. Amen. Amen. Peace gave us the morning. Peace gave us the sun. Bird songs that call us to welcome day and fresh labors begun. Amen. Amen. Peace gave us the seasons. Peace gave us the rain. Cool clouds that gather to bless us. Mist hands that soothe away pain. Amen. Peace gave us our heart's love. Peace gave us our smiles. Rays of thy presence within us. Light that all strife reconciles. Amen. Amen. Sing Amen with us. Amen. Thank you. And thank you all for the work you put into making a success of this thing. I'm sure it will be a great success. Do you have any questions to ask me? Of course, if only they had pounded in rhythm with my singing. There's always in Maya something to make it. Thank you. You can't have any plus without a minus. That's the nature of Dvaita. So anything you were saying? I've said it before. Any questions?
Swamiji, there is so much spirituality at this time, and people are praying and things are there, but still there is so much crime. Even though we say it is Dwapar Yuga, energy is there, but the crime has not reduced.
The crimes have reduced in quality. Back in the days of Nero, they would butcher people in the ring in the arena, and everybody would clear and laugh, cheer and laugh. Now they don't. Now you see bullfighting, even bullfighting is not very much liked. I think if you had bullfighting here, nobody would come except to jeer. Why do we have such wonderful sounds here?
They're trying to find you a microphone, Swami, because you're...
Can you hear me? Yeah, let it be. We don't need a microphone. Yeah, it's not that I had a soft voice. And my voice 2 years ago went down a whole octave. Now I can hit a lower note than the lowest note on the piano. And that's low. Okay, any other question? Yes, I will go on with that. That people now are kinder than they were in those days. Yes, we are still in a materialistic age. Dwapara Yuga is not an enlightened age, but it is a less enlightened, less darkened age. Now what makes it very clear that this is Dwapara is that the sign of Dwapara is that they understand that matter is energy. Everything now is understood to be made of energy. Matter itself is composed of energy. People in this age, in Dwapara Yuga, they will be able to demolish the delusion of space. They will be able to go to other planets. And how far they will demolish it, I don't know. I can't imagine they would demolish it so completely as to realize the truth that the most distant galaxy is no farther away than my own hand. I doubt that. But there are many signs that this is Dwapara Yuga. And so that's my answer. You can challenge it if you like.
Sorry, my question was, is Hansa, I'm more comfortable with that, the other version.
You're going to have to help me.
I'm more comfortable with that other version than Sanskrit is that.
Which other version?
What's he saying?
He's saying regarding the Hong Saw mantra,
Yes.
he says, I am more comfortable with So Hum. Can you comment on that?
I can't comment on it. So means I, so means is, or he, and hum is me. So when you say so hum, you're emphasizing me. And so I am that, I am that, I am that. If you say hum sa, you say I am he, and you're offering yourself to him. So I think hum sa is the right one. So hum is only, you only qualified to say to say so hum when you have realized that truth. Okay? Any other questions?
Sometimes it is very easy to meditate and concentrate. Sometimes we feel dejected. Oh, how long I have to go? Will I be successful or not? I don't know how many people have felt like that.
You'll have to help me.
She's
I'm deaf, I have to tell you.
She's saying sometimes it's easy to meditate and you enjoy it, but sometimes it's very hard and you feel a little disappointed, dejected at when will I get there or will I ever get there?
I had that problem. I said it to Master. He said you should meditate the way you practice action, nishkam karma. Also meditate without desire for the fruits of your meditation. And except sometimes it will be good, sometimes it's not good. Such are the waves of of Maya. But do we have to have that?
Some construction work going on, Swami.
Yeah. Now let me finish my question here. And I think it may help always just to say, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is conversing with Him. And if you can offer your talks to God, think you're meditating to a conscious thing. It might help you to visualize a blue light and feel that's conscious. And in your meditation, you're communing with that blue light. Try that. Let me know if it works. I'd like to know how you feel about it. But it will make your meditations more conscious than sitting there in darkness. Yes.
After I read the book, Yogananda's book, my life changed quite a lot. But the flow which I told you is not there. And secondly, when I go inside, I've been going to a lot of satsang and all sorts of things. But when I go deep into it, I find a lot of negativity there.
What is he saying?
So he said after reading the autobiography, my life completely changed, except I don't feel that flow in my life. And when I go to satsangs or I go to spiritual gatherings and I really get deep into it, I see a lot of negativity there.
You have this negativity in yourself. We all do. We're all the battleground of Kurukshetra. And the Kauravas are down below, the forces that pull us downward. And the Pandavas are those which pull us upward. And you notice in the first part of the Gita, it says their side is easy to count, ours is difficult to count, which in many translations they say theirs is vincible, ours is invincible. That's not true. It means the forces of goodness are few because virtues are few, but the way of erring are endless. And so ours is difficult to count because there's so many ways to sin. Just go on. So as we understand that this battle of life is within ourselves, we can't blame other people for the influence that we're feeling in ourselves. We may be more susceptible to one thing or another. Your own thoughts are universally rooted, not individually rooted, which is to say you don't even create your own thoughts. Your brain is a transmitting station for thoughts that live on that particular level. I remember many years ago when I was a young man, I fell into a mood and I tried to get out of it. Sit down and relax. I tried to get out of it by reasoning my way out. I simply could not. Reason always follows feeling. And so what you need to do is change your level of consciousness. So what I did was say, all right, I'm not winning the battle this way. Let me sit down and change my level of consciousness. So I put my mind very strongly here. And in 5 minutes, that's all it took. I felt completely different. The world seemed fine. Everything's fine. The way you see life depends on where you are in your own spine. It's really an amazing thing, but everything takes place in your own spine. This is the importance of yoga, because enlightenment comes when the energy is withdrawn into the spine. Every time you feel happy about something, there's an upward reaction in yourself that makes you feel happy. It isn't the thing that makes happiness. The same thing that makes you happy might make somebody else unhappy. But when your reaction is right, the energy is going up the spine. When it's negative, it goes down the spine, inevitably. So with Kriya Yoga, what we understand is that we get control over our own reactive process. So that when we see, even some people will enjoy a sunset and be unhappy if it's a rainy day. If you can control yourself, you can raise that energy. Anyway, one time I was driving through a blinding rainstorm, and I was getting very frustrated because I had a certain appointment to reach, and I couldn't see more than 50 feet ahead of me. And I thought, finally, the thought came to me, I can't help the weather outside. Why don't I just create good weather inside? And suddenly a song came to me. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. And I wrote that song down on a piece of paper as I was driving, hoping no policeman would see me. But really, if you change your level of consciousness, the whole world will seem different. So don't blame other people. But sometimes, if there are these negative things, they react against positivity. You know, Satan and God both exist within us. And it's like having one on the left side, one on the right. I've said it really below and above, which is more literally true. But if you're driving, you say left side negative Satan, right side God. There, you're neutral in between. But if you move toward God, then He pulls you further. If you move toward Satan, then He pulls you further. So it's a matter, grace is a matter of just opening yourself up to it. The more you open yourself up to that grace, the more it will happen. Don't be impatient, it will happen over time. But what is the good thing about it that makes you happy? It's the proof of it, virtually. Everybody who's done it comes out on top. Everybody who's refused to do it comes out on the bottom. Everybody who seeks God finds happiness. Sooner or later, depending on how intensely and his past karma and so on, everybody who thinks, oh, that's not worth it, everybody becomes unhappy. You never see a cynical person happy. It's not possible. So when you see this, and you see that the human race, over millions and millions and millions of years probably, Master said that civilization has been going on for 56 million years. Anyway, when you see these things happen universally, this is the beautiful thing about living in a community, because you can see people over years. Those people who think, what's in it for me, they never get it together. Those people who think, what can I do for others? How can I cooperate? How can I help other people? They're always happy. And when you see it happening universally in the community of many people living together, you begin to see this attitude works, this attitude doesn't work. It's all a question of attitude. So get your attitude right, it will be right.
Could you elaborate Nishkam?
Could you elaborate on Nishkam Karma?
Nishkam karma means action without desire for the fruits of action. When you do a thing and you think, what's in it for me, Charlotte? You. What did he say?
He didn't catch the last word.
There is a movie. There's a movie called Charlotte's Web. And in this movie, there's a rat. And every proposition this rat says, the Charlotte is a spider. Anyway, a benign spider. And every time some proposition is offered to the creatures, the rat says, what's in it for me, Charlotte? And animals that think, or people that think, that what's in it for me, they never get anything. Nishkam karma means action without desire, especially for egoic satisfaction. Okay?
One final question. You said to open up towards God more. After reading the book, I met a lady in Bombay, and she also told me the same thing. She says you are walking on a sword.
You're what?
Swami, he's not got to a question yet.
After I read the book, I met one person in Bombay where I have been going for a long time, and I asked the same question. He said, you are walking on the sword. It is for you to come towards God or fall this side. So you also said the same thing. Open yourself more towards God. Could you tell how you can open up more towards God?
Every time you offer a thought to God, you're going towards Him. Every time you offer a feeling to God, you're going towards Him. If you give something to somebody, you'll find yourself, your ego expands. Everything on the spiritual path depends on overcoming this thought that I am separate from God, that I am a separate human being from other human beings. The more you give to others, the more you find. That's why Jesus Christ said, it is more blessed to give than to receive, because you expand your ego. The job is finally to get rid of this sense of ego and to understand that He is the only reality. I'll talk about this tomorrow, so I don't want to undermine my talk and have you walking out halfway. We've heard it all. But the more you think in terms of what's in it for me, the less happy you become, because you cut yourself off from God. So opening yourself to God means offering every thought to Him. And if you do a pap, if you do a sin, offer that to Him too. He likes that, because then you're offering Him something He can correct you. But if instead, if you make a mistake or do something wrong, I hope He didn't see that. Well, He did it through you. He knew all about it. So give Him everything. My guru one time, I was I had to perform some yoga postures at a bar mitzvah, the Jewish bar mitzvah. I'm not Jewish, but they wanted me to have give this demonstration. So afterwards, a Jewish psychiatrist in Beverly Hills, where this took place, Jewish psychiatrists are very materialistic and atheist, and he tried to laugh at me for what I had been talking about. And I told him about a few miracles that I had seen my guru perform. And I could see him thinking, well, Wednesday at 11, I can have space for this patient. And anyway, the next 2 days later, I was with my guru, and he said, by the way, when you're with atheists and materialists, don't talk about miracles. I said, you knew. He said, I know every thought you think. Now, some people said, doesn't that embarrass you to know that he knew every thought? No, it never did. Because I wanted him to know my thought. That was the only way that he could correct me. So whenever he corrected me, whenever he saw something, I was glad. One time I was in the church, and I was going to give the service the next Wednesday. And the man whom I was talking with, he said, oh, I'll be sure to be there then. Well, I didn't like his saying that, because I knew he was completely insincere. I knew he would be there anyway. It's not a question of whether I was giving the service or somebody else was giving it. He was just trying to flatter me, and I didn't like that. So I said, well, will you please check people's pockets for garbage to throw at me? And 2 days later, my guru said, by the way, no, on the same occasion, he said, even in church a few days ago, you said something about garbage. Don't talk like that. It's not dignified. Well, I was glad that he could correct me on that. But there were many times when he showed that ability. One time, one of the disciples, James Conner, he was always getting to hot water. And he was a very pure soul. Master said he would find liberation in this life. But he said, I don't know how, but Divine Mother says, says so, he must be true. Anyway, he was on the highway coming to Encinitas from Phoenix. It's not too meaningful here in Chennai, but it's a distance of quite a few hours by car. And he was coming at night. He was getting very hungry, and he looked for an open restaurant. Finally, he found one. All they had was hamburgers. Well, we're all vegetarians. And he thought, oh, well, he won't know. So he had 2 hamburgers. And when he saw Yogananda, after reaching Encinitas, Yogananda was talking to him. At the end of the conversation, he said, by the way, James, when you're on the highway late at night and you come to a restaurant that serves only hamburgers, better not eat anything. So in these ways, he could embarrass some people, but if you were a true disciple, it didn't bother you. But God knows every thought, so give him any mistake that you make. Don't try to hide it. Say, look, I made this mistake. And if you do it because you can't help yourself, ask him to help you. You know, many years ago, I was 21 years old, and I used to smoke. And I then I went out into the night. I didn't believe in God. I didn't disbelieve in him. I just didn't know if he existed. But I was seeking truth, and every line of investigation that I followed reached a dead end. And I said, without God, there can't be an answer to anything. So finally one night I went out into the darkness and I asked myself a question. If there's a God, what must he be? And I thought, well, I'm conscious. Therefore, he must be consciousness. Mind you, this is all completely separate from church teaching. Absolutely nothing to do with what the churches teach. But they don't teach Christianity. They teach churchianity. And that's why I didn't like what I learned there. And I said, well, if he's consciousness, then my duty in life is to open myself to that consciousness. And I came home just absolutely staggered with that idea. I resolved to give my life to God. And I remember I thought I was going crazy. Nobody in history that I knew of had ever thought of trying to seek God. It seemed impossible. But I remember I thought, well, the first thing I've got to do is overcome my wrong habits. And the first thing I thought of becoming a hermit. And I thought, whoever heard of a hermit who smokes? I wouldn't have the money to buy the cigarettes. So I thought, all right, I've got to give up smoking. And so I tried. And that coffee after lunch the cigarette tasted so good with that. And I was like Mark Twain. He said, smoking is the easiest habit in the world to give up. I've done it 1,000 times. And every time I went back to it, the thing that I understood, I never said I have failed. I always said I haven't yet succeeded. That was a very important understanding, because every time I went back to smoking, that thought was an affirmation of eventual success. So after a year, suddenly I just gave up smoking. It was easy. So whenever you make a mistake, or if there's a habit you can't overcome, give it to God and say, I haven't yet succeeded. And share your thoughts with him. Don't try to hide yourself from him. And you will see that he will give you the strength to overcome in time. It's he who gives you the devotion to find him. It's he who gives you the strength to find him. Everything comes from him. So just open your heart to him, and you'll see that virtue begins to come in. And all these other things they don't seem important anymore. Any other questions? Yes.
Sir, I understand Yoganandaji in his previous incarnation was Arjun, Lord Krishna's disciple. So how is it possible? Is it really possible to understand previous incarnation what we were?
He says, I understand that Master Yogananda was Arjuna in a past life. Is it possible for people to know their previous incarnations?
Oh, of course. You can go to psychics even for that. You can go to Brigu but who cares? Who you are now is who you are now. This is what you have to deal with. And these are the realities you have to overcome. Go forward, not backward. Okay? Yes, you had a question. You did.
How to surrender to God completely?
Offer him your every desire. If you have a desire for anything, share it with him. Say, we are enjoying this, not I am enjoying this. And you can't just say, no, I don't have desires, but still it's pretty nice, that apple pie tastes pretty good. Share it with him. You'll find that there's fun in sharing it with him, and slowly you'll lose the desire for the thing and understand what you're looking for is he. We can reach the point. I asked my guru one time, because he said you have to overcome every material desire before you can find freedom from this plane at least. I said, every desire, even for an ice cream cone? Oh, yes. Oh my God. It seemed impossible. But those little things go away. When ecstasy comes, he said, everything goes. So yes, you do have to overcome it, but he will help you. When you reach a certain level, those things don't mean anything anymore. Okay? Yes.
What is the best experience
what is the best experience you've had and at what age?
Well, at different ages, I had different kinds of experiences. So, I think my favorite experience when I was with Yogananda was I was sitting at his feet and he was editing his Gita commentaries. By the way, if you have not read The Essence of the Bhagavad Gita, please get it. It's a great book. Anyway, he was editing that book, and I was sitting there and thinking what a great good fortune it was to be his disciple. And at the end of his work, he had me help him to stand up. He had a little trouble with his knees, and he looked at me very closely, just as closer than Surjo and I are here. And he said, "Just a bulge of the ocean." And I understood. It wasn't him I was loving, it was God through him. And you must love the Guru also, not as himself, but as the bulge of God, as a bulge of the ocean of God. That to me was a very precious moment. There have been many others, but I remember that he always pointed his when people would bless him, he'd always touch his feet, he'd always go like that, directing that devotion to God. He never accepted devotion for himself. That was a wonderful quality about him. In fact, everything about him was wonderful, because everything expressed God. It was, he told us once, and I couldn't figure this one out. I was born in Romania, and I had an English education. And he told us he was William the Conqueror. To me, with an English education, I had always thought of William the Conqueror as one of history's great villains. And here was my own guru. And I had to really work on that one. But I found that William was actually a great saint. 400 years after his death, they exhumed his body. It was still incorrupt. And he came for a special mission, not as an ordinary saint whose business is to try to keep himself kind and humble and everything. An avatar comes with a message to destroy evil and to bring virtue up. An avatar can be very fierce sometimes. Rama had to destroy, what's his name? Ravana. And Krishna had to destroy his enemy, but he never did it with a thought of destruction. It was the thought of not destroying a person, but destroying evil to bring virtue on its seat again. William's job at that time was England was a separate country from Europe. England could be reorganized in a way that would be more dharmic. And Europe, you couldn't change. One country, it was too much of a mix. So his duty was to bring England up. But England was under the influence of the pagan Norsemen, a strong influence there. He had to, in one lifetime, instill that. And then I was his son in that time. And it was my duty to finish his job there. But it was a very interesting work that he did. I asked one of our members, Catherine Kairavi, to write a biography to explain it's called Two Souls, Four Lives. And it's a very interesting book. On reincarnation, you'll find it fascinating. But in there, you find what a great work he actually did to change in one lifetime a whole culture. He founded many monasteries and brought the church back into a state of purity. It was a great job that he did, but he had to do it with force sometimes because he was opposed by force. And a saint would not dare do that, but an avatar's mission is to do that. His is to destroy evil and to bring virtue on its throne again. So anyway, all those incarnations are fascinating to go back. I've enjoyed going. I've said don't be interested in past incarnations, but of course one is, and I have been. So I might as well be honest with you. I've been to Brigu and been to Agastya and different ones, and I found it interesting. It helps me also, and I don't want people to become too fascinated, but it helps you to see your own past tendencies. For example, my guru told me that in past lives I was a great doubter. Well, it helps me in this life not to doubt. In fact, in this life I have no doubts, but I am very good at answering questions because I've had all those doubts. Anyway, yeah.
Swamiji, Master said, when I'm gone, only love can take my place. So, when you feel, so can love overcome all negativities?
It depends on the kind of love. Most love is self-love. You're attached. If it's giving love, expensive love, impersonal love. People think impersonal means no love, cold. Not at all. Impersonal means you're not getting anything for it for yourself. If a person hates you, you still love him. That's fine. Impersonal love overcomes all.
It does
Yeah.
overcome all.
Yeah.
It has to be impersonal.
Impersonal, yeah.
And it'll overcome all negativity.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Other?
You told to act without the desire for the fruits of action. Yeah. But if I follow that, will I be able to do a full commitment, 100% in what I'm doing?
He says you spoke of acting without the desire for the fruits of action, but how can I fully commit myself to the job I'm doing and move ahead?
Do it for God. It doesn't mean you have no desire to succeed. It means you don't want the desire for yourself, but you're doing it for God. And in fact, you can work 10 times as hard if you're doing it for God. In my life, I've written 145 books. I've written over 400 pieces of music. I've taken 15,000 art photographs. I've founded 9 communities. But the reason I've been able to do so much is that I haven't done it at all. He has done it through me. And when I do that, I don't mean it's been like automatic writing. I put a pen on the paper and just wait for him to... No, I dive in and do it with willpower, but I ask him to guide my inspiration. You can do much more if you're doing it without desire for the fruits. Because then there's no anxiety. Will it work? Will it not work? What will people say? Will I be getting in trouble for this? You don't have those thoughts. You have a clear line to the goal. Do you understand? It's an important point. Yes.
Continuing with this Nishkan Karma. Actually, I have been on this path for 6 years and I've been doing Kriya for 3 years. And I have had 2 negative experiences. One was 2 years back. I was giving a job interview on the phone, and on the phone they were asking me about what I was doing.
Maybe you should stop a moment, let him explain. What has he been saying?
He's talking about an experience he had 2 years ago, a negative experience.
While giving a job interview over the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was talking about, they asked me about what I was doing at my current job, and I was constantly using the phrase we have this in our team, we do
So
this.
say it again.
They asked him what he was doing in his current job, and he was constantly using the phrase we. We are doing this, we do that.
And the person at the other end was screaming, don't say we, say I, say I, say I.
Don't tell me.
The person at the other end on the line kept saying, say I, don't say we.
Okay. Now another experience that I had just a few months back, again at a job interview. Now what I do is, when I do my job, I do it very joyfully, and whatever is given to me, I do it joyfully. But I was explaining to this person who was taking my interview that whatever I was doing, and he's asking me what is new and exciting about it. So the thing is, for me the attitude is whatever is given to me, I do it joyfully, and it's new and exciting at that point of time. So how do I deal with people like this? And they are important because I have to deal with them in my profession.
I don't quite understand. Would you try to explain it to me?
I don't either, Swami. I think he's saying, how do I deal with people who do not understand the attitude that he carries of joyful service, doing job as a joyful service, but they want him to be very strict within a certain box in their corporate? How does he deal with such
You
people?
mean your superiors want this of you?
No, I was giving a job interview and like
The person,
Yeah, his superior or anybody who's.
your superior.
no, it was not a superior.
Is the person you're interviewing for a job.
Yes.
The person
Okay.
The person there was like,
I don't think it's
whatever
his.
I had done, he did not find it exciting. He
I
asked
have-
me what is new and exciting about it.
I'd say that he doesn't need your job, but look for somebody else.
That's what I was trying to do.
I mean, you get excited if you want it, you don't. If you don't want it, you don't get excited. And if you get excited, you're wrong anyway. I mean, when you do a thing with excitement, you almost always do it wrong. The word excitement shouldn't be there. When you're bouncing up and down, you're not moving forward. So I would talk just calmly with wisdom. Why do you say we? Because you're speaking on behalf of a corporation. And I would just calmly say, it's not we, it's not I, it's we. I'm a corporation. If you want to know my own experience, that's another subject. But just be frank with them on that. Isn't that right? Yeah. Any other questions? Have I drowned everybody here?
I have a question. What is God as such? You say
What is God?
God. It's a concept, is he an experience? I don't know, as I go through this path, I don't know. I have to teach myself.
When you
what to
look at
teach.
matter, you say, what is matter? It's solid. It's something you can hit and it responds. But they've discovered that matter is nothing but energy. So it really, when I hit this table, it's not solid at all. It's just energy. My energy is different from that, so it won't go through. So then what is energy? It gets easier to understand that energy is sort of fluid. And that's the understanding again of Dwapara Yuga. It's a more fluid understanding we're coming to today. And so you begin to think, well, maybe energy is only thoughts. And when you get rid of those, when you understand where thoughts come from, you've reached something that you can't possibly define. It's consciousness. So what Shankaracharya, the Adi Shankaracharya said, is that God is Satchidananda. You can't really define God, because you've defined a thing, you've got it in boxes. You can't box God. So you have to understand that He is ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. Yogananda added that ever new. And I think that's a wonderful thought, because that explains why God would create the universe in the first place. That ever newness means it wants to express itself. And so it expresses itself periodically in a day of Brahma. And it manifests itself, but we're all God. And you can't say we are God, but you can say God is us. God has become us. So you're trying to define something that you can't possibly define. I remember Anandamoyi Ma said one time, it is and it isn't, and it neither is it nor is it not. I mean, she said that just to make it clear. You can't possibly define God, but you can say, I feel more blissful, less blissful. So that's what it is, more or less. When you come more toward bliss, you're getting more of God. You become that, and you can't define it, but you become that, and that's your destiny. You are a part of that. And your role in life, after billions of incarnations, I mean, days of Brahma probably, when you finally understand that the goal of it all is merging in Him, then you're nearly at the end. When you merge in Him, then you become a siddha, complete liberation. Very few people come from that state. Those who do are the avatars. I'll have to talk about some of these things tomorrow, but please come anyway. Okay, what a pretty sari or whatever it is.
Thank
There. Any other questions?
I want to do Kriya Yoga. Is there any center out here?
He says he wants to learn Kriya Yoga. Is there any center over here?
Well, we have Ananda teaches it, SRF teaches it, Yeah, Yogoda Satsanga, they teach it. We teach it. I'm a disciple of Yoga. What's he saying?
Devendra.
What's he saying?
We just told him to contact Devendra
Yeah.
if he wants to learn Kriya.
Yeah, yeah. I was in SRF, but they threw me out. I was too creative for them. They didn't like that. Yeah. So since then, I've been able to create what I've done. So all this work that I told you about began at the age of 36. Any other questions?
I have.
Yeah.
How does liberation come? Like, do you really have to be this perfect being and then it comes, or you're just this? You're just who you are. It comes and then everything is perfect.
What's this?
How does liberation come? Do you have to be this all perfect being and then liberation comes?
No.
Or do you just be yourself and then liberation comes and then you become perfect?
Let me explain. You have to cease to exist. You have to give up this sense that I am separate. You begin to understand that there is something that became you, and that all your thoughts are not your own, your feelings are not your own, they're part of a universal reality. Gradually, in superconsciousness, you go into Samadhi. But there are two kinds of Samadhi. In the first kind, there's a thought, it's called Sabikalpa Samadhi, in which case you go into it, but you still retain a thought of, I am going into that. And from that stage, if you go beyond that to Nirvikalpa, where there's no kind of separation at all, then you still have past lives to overcome. The memory of having been a pirate, the memory of having been this and that and the other thing. When you've overcome all your past incarnations of memory, and you realize it is God who dreamed everything, then you go into union with God. After attaining that, most people, after finally reach that point, they say, well, that's that. Except they don't have any hands to clap. They go into it and that's that. When you become perfect, you are perfect. You don't have to reach perfection to become perfect. You become perfect, you become perfection. If you have still that lingering, you might call it desireless desire to help other people, then you come back as an avatar. And those avatars are people like Krishna, our line of gurus, Jesus Christ, Buddha, and so on. But they're the great saviors of the human race. A saved person, a siddha can save just a few people, but an avatar can save any number of people. Okay?
I have one final question.
Okay.
Now, again, like experiences, like I've been doing Kriya for 3 years, and what I've found is that, I set a nice routine, and, everything is done. Like, I live my life, I do my job, I do my Kriya, and something or the other God messes it. And again, I have to struggle, to get back to that routine. So, what do I do to stop it?
Every time I set a good routine of doing my kriyas and work and everything, live a good life, a good daily routine, something or the other messes it up.
Naturally.
And it's hard for me to get back to it. How can I
Karma. Karma comes into play. Karma is everything. We can overcome karma. We shouldn't say, oh, my karma. But we must you should become a lecturer. You could teach all these teachings. But when you say it's my karma, didn't say, all right, I'll overcome it. I've had great bad karmas to overcome in my life. I've had hip operation 3 times. The surgeon told me you should have been bedridden years ago. I've had 18 inches of my intestines taken out. I've had open heart surgery. I've had all kinds of physical troubles. I was thrown out of my organization and told to do absolutely nothing. I've had lots of obstacles. In building Ananda, I had only to open my mouth for 10 people to jump into it. And somehow I had to hold firm. But finally I've reached a point of peace. I mean outward peace. I had it inwardly. But karma, when you're When you're seeking God, He throws tests at you. Saint Teresa of Avila was sick all the time, having all sorts of problems. One time when she was in her old age, she was going to start a new convent, a monastery, and her horse lost footing in a stream and was swept away, and her nuns thought that she was drowned. She found herself on the opposite bank, and Jesus was standing there. Her clothing was dry. He said, "Don't feel too badly, Teresa. This is how I treat all my friends." She said, "Ah, my Lord, that's why you have so few." So if you get onto the path seriously, you have to expect tests. But if you work to overcome it, you're overcoming lots of karma. One, yeah.
Is brahmacharya a shortcut to achieving liberation?
It's a shortcut. I won't say it's the only shortcut. In other words, you can be married. You know, it's an interesting thing. It's much easier if you're not married. If you're married, you have to please somebody else. If you're married, you may have to please somebody who doesn't understand you. There are lots of obstacles that way. There's the desire for sex. You can't have that desire and find God. You've got to overcome every desire. That is the greatest of all the desires. And that has to be overcome before you can reach freedom in Him. So brahmacharya helps. But for many people, brahmacharya is just a suppression. And so Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, of what use is suppression? You have to overcome it. And that sometimes being married makes it easier. After a while, you just don't have any interest in it. So I would say the main shortcut is loving God. Being stern with yourself is not the answer. Okay?
Could you repeat the last? The main.
Let him have a chance here.
No, he didn't
hear.
He said, could you repeat the
He didn't hear the last line, Swami.
Oh, what did I say in my
The
last
main
line?
thing is, main shortcut is loving God.
The main shortcut is to love God, yeah.
And being stern with yourself.
Don't be too stern with yourself. People who are too rigid, God is soft, God is kind. You have to develop a kindness. People who are too ascetic, they lose kindness. Okay, one more question. No. This lady.
1 second, sorry.
Let her.
We have some family problems. We do something actively to solve it, or do we leave it to God to solve His will?
If we have some family problems, should we actively try to solve it or leave it up to God to solve it?
That depends on the problem. Depends on what you call by trying to solve. You can't tell people to be different from what they are. But you can suggest to them, you can be a good example, but many people can't take if you speak at the wrong time to a child, let's say, he may not listen to you when he could listen to you. So wait until it's the right moment, till you feel it's the right moment to tell him, and then tell him. Then he'll understand better. Don't force things, in other words. It's a hard question just to answer in a blanket way. Now, you had a question?
Yes, I was asking, we are advised to follow one path, one Guruji, like Paramahansa Vivekananda. We have other Gurujis in India also.
I'm sorry, can you speak up a little?
We are advised to follow one Guruji's path, like
Mhm.
Paramahansa Vivekananda. We have other Gurujis who are also teaching or doing spiritual thing. Why is that limitation of following only one path?
We are advised to follow just one path or one guru, even though there are so many spiritual gurus or teachers out there. Why are we limited just to one?
The truth is one and it's eternal. The truth is in everybody. But there are many ways to that truth. You can go up one side of the mountain, another side of the mountain, the top of the mountain. From the top you can see all are one. But if you follow different teachers, then you will find that somebody gives you an advice that conflicts with another, and you can if you have your feet in two boats and the boats separate, you fall in the water. So it's definitely, absolutely necessary to follow one path. Not bigotedly, with tolerance for all. Many saints in India have tried to take me away from my guru. I've just refused. Many people in India have tried to say, well, he was wrong in this way and that way. I have simply said, look, he's my guru. If he's wrong, he's still my guru. They say, if he's your guru, he's God in that body, even if he goes to the grog shop. I don't mean that there are not false gurus. There are. There are all too many false gurus. But once you found a true guru, then be loyal to him. Because there will be many people trying to make you disloyal. I went to Muktananda. He's a well-known saint here. He tried to take me away from my guru. I just had nothing to do with him. I just left. I don't like that kind of attitude. And he's the one who told me, so hum is the right mantra. Well, I gave the answer to that. It's not the right mantra. And I mention this because he tried to sow my doubt in my mind. I met another great master in North India. He was a tantric master, but he was one of the very few who really are masters. And I asked him this dilemma. He said, why then did they write, was there a Upanishad called the Hamsa Upanishad? Hamsa is right, not so hum. So there will be people trying to take you away from your path, as Muktananda was a saint, and yet he did that. Be loyal to your own way. Don't say, well, that makes sense. No. Even if my guru is wrong, I'll follow him, because I know that I'll be right in the long run. And I know he can't be wrong, because I've never found him to be wrong. I've been on the path now for 64 years. I've never known him to be wrong in anything. But that's not my criterion. I went through a doubt when I was a young man. He had me editing the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, which is a great scripture. And I'm used to Western logic, which is Aristotelian, either this or that. I had not yet encountered the Indian way, which is this and that. And he would say, it means this, and it also means that. And I thought, can he make up his mind? And it was a serious doubt for me. I would lie on my bed just torn in half. But what brought me out of that period of doubt was not logic. It was that I loved him. Then I came to India and I discovered that this is a much more sophisticated way of thinking. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he went to Puri, he met Sarvabhauma there. And Sarvabhauma was a great scholar. And he said to Chaitanya that you need to become more intellectual. You're too much just devotion. He said, well, I'd be happy to learn from you. So Sarvabhauma took a passage of scripture and interpreted it 25 different ways. And Chaitanya said, that's an amazing feat. Let me see if I can think of any others. He came up with 80 or something more. And then Sarvabhauma became his follower. Well, that kind of reasoning is just not Western reasoning. In the West, you think a thing has to be this or that. So, but my cure for those doubts, which were severe, but I loved him, and that's what mattered to me. Later, I discovered that he was right, and my doubts were completely foolish. Yeah. Well, time for one more question. Yes.
My question is connecting both karma and liberation.
What do you say?
He hasn't come up with the question yet, Swami.
Okay, it is connecting both karma and liberation. So many say that if we have bad karma, we have to experience it. As he said, it stops his routine or something. So is it the same with good karma? And the second question is, to attain liberation, if the good karma sticks to a person again, so to attain liberation, one has to get rid of both bad and good karma, something like that.
Yeah, the bad karma takes you toward it. I mean, the good karma takes you toward it. The bad karma takes you away from it, but you have to overcome all karma.
Okay, let's say a person does not doesn't have any bad karma, but he keeps doing something good and good. will he get a rebirth again to experience or get rid of all the good karma again to get
If
liberation?
someone accumulates a lot of good karma, will he have to be reborn again to finally finish it, to attain liberation?
When you have good enough karma, you don't have to come back. Listen, what brings you back is desire for this world. If you have a desire for beautiful music, beautiful scenery, you don't have to come back to this world. It's more beautiful in the astral world. But if you have a material desire, then you have to come back to this plane. It's a simple reality. If the heart directs energy, if the energy goes towards something material, you have to come back to where it can be fulfilled. So when you've overcome all that, then you go to the next world and stay there. If you go deeper, you go beyond all the worlds. Everything is desire. As long as you have desire, that's why Patanjali, I have a book called Demystifying Patanjali, and that's another book I strongly recommend to you. It's most books on Patanjali make him seem so abstract and abstruse. You don't know what what he's talking about. But in my book, I was taught by my guru, and he helped me to understand all those different sutras, and I realized that and he said this one. He taught this one to me too. The yoga is the yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the neutralization. Now, Vivekananda said of mind stuff. What's mind stuff? Other people call it what? Mental modifications. What does that mean? It really, chitta is the heart. Okay, let me explain it this way. Consciousness, when it comes into the body, takes on four aspects: mind, intellect, ego, heart, feeling. Those are the four aspects of consciousness in human beings. And my guru, when he wanted to get the Maharaj of Kashim Bazar to give him a place in Ranchi to build his school, the man brought in a whole group of pundits. Master said later, I could see they were ready for a theological bullfight. And he said, all right, let's not just talk about what we've read. Let's talk about what we've experienced. He said, all the scriptures say, the scriptures say that the states of consciousness have their center in the body, but no scripture tells you where that center is. Where is the center of Mon, Buddhi, Ahankar, Chitta? And they didn't know the answer. So he said, well, Mon is up here. Mon is like a mirror. You see a horse in the mirror, and it reflects it. Intellect is centered here. And intellect is like that discriminating quality which says, oh, that's a horse. Then the ego comes in, the ego is here. And that's why people, when they are proud, they look down their noses at the world, because they draw their head back, there's tension here. And the ego says, oh, that's my horse. But you're still not caught until you come to the thought, oh, how happy I am to see my horse. So chitta is the main thing that traps you in delusion. The vrittis are not, they're not waves, they're whirlpools. And those little thoughts that draw desires and attachments to your ego are what hold you to Maya. So yoga is the neutralization of all those. And what we need to do through Kriya Yoga, through devotion, is offer up all our energy to God. That will gradually, and Kriya Yoga is the best technique for neutralizing those little vrittis of chitta. But chitta is the main thing we have to neutralize. We have to give up all desires for anything. Every time you have a desire, the ego turns this thing around, and the thought, the desire turns it around the ego. My horse, my wife, my husband, my home, my children. We have to understand it's all he. Master talked about a man whose wife came and told him their son had just been bitten and killed by a cobra. And he didn't seem to react. She said, have you no heart? He said, no, you don't understand. Last night I had a dream in which I was a king, and all my 6 sons were bitten by cobras and died. Now I'm trying to understand which dream should I worry about, this dream or this dream. It's all a dream anyway. So don't let anything touch you. Be free in yourself. Okay? Thank you all.